T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
The divisional games are in the books, right? Divisional weekend. Any surprises? Well, we'll break those down for you. And it's Conference Championship week. Well, good to see you, boys. To get started, I'm going to throw on the Wayback Machine to 1 year ago. Listen to this.
4 years ago, he was a senior in high school in tiny Fort Payne, Alabama. Now the Bengals Super Bowl chances rest on his right foot. The kick is up. It is good. Coffin nails.
Bam, bam, bam. That was unbelievable, Dan. Yes, a year ago. That was Dan Hort and Dave Lapham on the Bengals radio network. And we know the Houday Bengals are knocking on the door again, fellas. The stage is set. Chiefs hosting the Bengals and the Eagles hosting the 49ers. So let's step back, look at last weekend's divisional games. Who or what was the biggest disappointment in your eyes? Lugs, what do you say?
For me, it's Buffalo Bills. I mean, it's like the bottom fell out. Burrow showed that he was head and shoulders above Josh Allen at this point. And I would have to say, it also points out how much that team misses Brian Daboll. It's just, it was sad. I mean, it was like they were just calling plays. There wasn't, I mean, when you go 3 and out, the first 2 drives, usually those drives are scripted tightly. I mean, Cincinnati's was, and they took it to them. They took it to them. I mean, it wasn't an overwhelming win, but it was a good, solid win. So I don't know what you do if you're in Buffalo at this point. Get yourself a decent offensive coordinator, maybe. So that was the biggest surprise, was just how badly Buffalo played, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
What do you say, T-Dog? Your biggest disappointment of the weekend?
Dang, just Lugs just absolutely killing Ken Dorsey up in Orchard Park.
He's out. Get him.
Yeah. I mean, I think overall he did a good job for the year, but obviously, they should have scored more points. But the one thing I want to say is, and again, we'll talk more about the Bengals Bills game. I just want to say real quick, as much as I obviously love Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Higgins, and even last year, let's be honest, the best unit on this team is their defense. So
true.
It's been their strongest calling card last year, and it's still been their strongest calling card this year, even though the offense actually this year has actually contended for the best unit on the team. So like, it's a better team than last year's team. Obviously the record shows it. I'm sure the advanced metrics, if we had any of those, would show it. We don't, but they're just a better overall team. I will agree with Lugs. I'm disappointed in the way they played. The Buffalo, to have Damar Hamlin there, I'm not going to play in that factor, but you thought that would maybe, and again, maybe that narrative stuff doesn't really matter. Obviously, I think the narrative that did matter is you could tell, like, after the game, how Joe Burrow said, like, hope you all get all those refunds. This team always has a chip on their shoulder.
Yep.
And he had this coming into this league, and it's like a lot of great players, they will create chips on their shoulder, but when you give them a huge valid one, don't expect them to not show up. And to be honest with you, I mean, I don't know how you all felt about the no catch touchdown for Jamar Chase. I mean, this score could have been worse.
Big time.
I mean,
yeah, that was as close as it gets. Right there.
Yeah, I mean, and again, the thing we were worried about, I actually could be wrong. I know Lugs did. J-Boy, did you pick the Bengals to win the game? Was it a clean sweep?
I'll say
for us?
yes today just because it sounds good, but I don't remember. Honestly,
Okay.
I'd have to rewind the
I
tape.
just wanted to say that those second string, third string, whatever offensive linemen that were replacing the starters, that concerned me.
Right.
And those guys showed up. They
Big time.
really showed, and Joe Mixon showed up too.
Yeah, well, just to give stats to what you said.
Yeah.
Bengals O-line were probably the big story coming in, and they were the story coming out for a different perspective. They ran for 172 yards. They scored 1 touchdown by Joe Mixon, averaged 5.1 yards per carry, allowed only 1 sack, and on top of it, only 3 QB hits. So for the most part, they kept him clean as a sheet.
Big time.
In that white. And yeah, Joe Mixon, I think, was the MVP. That's the thing, is they had so many players playing so high, you could give it to anyone, but he was tearing through tackles. That first drive just set the tone where he tore through like 3 Buffalo Bills players to get a first down, and he was killing clock, and he was just crushing spirits. And right when it looked like they had a flicker, when they scored a field goal to where maybe they were getting a little momentum in the second half, that next drive is where he just pounded it, scored a touchdown, put them up 24-10. And any thought that the Bills were going to come back was dashed right there.
Yeah, man. That was, it was disappointing. The next game that was sort of disappointing, surprising to me, was Kansas City and Jacksonville. Jacksonville had their shots, man. They really did. And then, of course, Mahomes got the ankle injury. I don't know if I buy that hobbling around the way he was, if it was that bad. Was that just an MVP move? Am I calling him out here?
Willis Reed game is what you're calling it, or Michael Jordan flu game? Is that what you're calling it? Nah, I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean,
legit.
But let's be honest. Anybody in the league will take a one-legged Mahomes over any other quarterback in the league. So, but like I said, Jacksonville had their moments. I mean, they dropped some passes that they shouldn't have. It was just so they'll be back. The Jacksonville boys, Trevor Lawrence is for real.
Yep.
And we'll get to the preview of the next. I'm calling it the Kansas City Invitational, since they always host
5 in a row, man. 5 in a row hosting. I want to say this about the Jags. If they would have stopped Travis Kelce, he had 15 catches, fellas. Put 3 guys on that guy, you got a good chance of beating and not having a place for Mahomes to throw the ball. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, he had 14.
14. Okay, I gave him an extra one.
You gave him an extra one.
Yeah.
I agree with you, though. He was the MVP of the game. The one thing I just like about it too is, like, again, the thing. I know we're not in the preview yet. The one thing that is scary about KC is this: Mahomes is, when healthy, and I actually believe he is not healthy.
Agree.
I'm not going to agree with Lugs. That game was in jeopardy, like he said. Why is he going to play a game within a game?
But give it to Chad Henne for coming in, by the way, getting a touchdown.
Yeah. But I was just going to say, besides Mahomes, you look at their play calling, and that's the thing that also puts them over the top. It's a combination of the quarterback. Because if you go back to that first TD catch by Kelce, great design, because we've been talking about Jarrett McKinnon has become a real factor in the red zone. So if you go back and watch that play, they ran like a screen to him, and Kelce chipped and just stayed in one spot and waited for all the defense to flow to McKinnon. And then he presented himself, and that's when Mahomes just threw him a short dart, and he just walked up the field, because the defense and the game tape probably showed him, watch for McKinnon, watch for McKinnon, watch for McKinnon. They did what they were told, but again, a good coach team, they had wrinkles. It's like, they're going to want this. We're going to attack them right here. Then you look at the Chad Henne touchdown, where he came in and he did help out. But if you go back and watch that, Valdez Scantling, he rubbed, and that's a nice way to put it, he rubbed 2 secondary guys.
That was a total pick.
Yeah, and Kelce ran a drag route. And again, I credit Henne for coming in, but that was just a lolly. I mean, that was just the easy pitch and catch. And And mainly, I just want to give credit to this guy. When Mahomes is out and they had to drive like 98 yards, the one guy I want to give credit to, Pacheco, for the game had 95 yards rushing. On that drive, he had 54 of those yards rushing. So, like, he was a factor for them. And that's just the thing, is that I don't know if they're as juicy as a team on offense as they were last year, but I just think they're a more complete offense. I think obviously the Bengals will give them problems because they don't have that X factor that Tyreek Hill is, but I think they're more patient, just like the Bengals are. They're more patient. They're not just looking for like kill shots. They can slice you up if that's how you want to die. So,
and Lugs, one thing about the boot, Mr. Obvious, aka Tony Romo, he said that he had a similar injury. He says Patrick was playing on adrenaline that second half, and this week, like these days right here, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, miserable. And it's not, it is real, and because you swell up and you get problems and you're wearing a boot, he may not get out of that boot till like Friday, Saturday, and then we'll see how he's doing. But I think it's real. I think it's for real.
Oh, I think he's got an injury, but that I saw it just looked exaggerated to me. Some part of that hobbling.
You like that one-legged thing?
But I'm not going to say that, because when you looked at that replay, I mean that one had to have hurt. Of the weekend, the biggest whoop ass had to be Philadelphia and the Giants. Wow. Man,
no contest.
I mean, it was just, you worried about Hurts being rusty, and the bye week really doesn't help, I don't think, as much as you would think. So I just was, you got to give it to the Giants for even being there. Brian Dable, I know that Dog thinks that he's coach of the year. I'm sorry, Doug Peterson is the coach of the year, but we'll discuss that elsewhere with fist fights or something like that.
That's 2 out of 3.
But anyway, Philadelphia was absolutely impressive. I mean, everybody on that offense, man, they got their touches.
Yeah, I guess right off the top, just to respond back. I mean, the main reason why is, I mean, I don't think any of us, and I think, to be fair to the people at large, I don't think anyone after one bad season of Trevor Lawrence said, "Oh, he's a bust." I mean, if you saw what he did at Clemson as a true freshman, to see what he did this year is actually not surprising. You expected him to be a franchise quarterback. At times, I still don't believe it. At times, Daniel Jones looking kind of like a franchise quarterback. I think that's a bigger coaching job. And again, Christian Kirk is like a legitimate starting wide receiver. Like I was saying last week, Isaiah Hodgins, credit to him for like doing something, but he wasn't even on the team until like November for the Giants. So that's the main reason why, is just their talent. Their lack of talent finally caught up to them, going against probably the most talented overall team in the league. And that's why you saw, like, early in the game, like on a 4th and 8, I believe, when they were down, they were down 7 or they're down 14-0. And the Giants went for it. They went for it because they're like, we have no shot in hell if we don't go for it right now.
4th and 8.
So,
right.
Yeah. So, and just, you saw it again with just their O-line just grading. I mean, they had 268 yards rushing, 3 TDs. Gainwell came in relief and got 112 rushing by himself and a TD. Hurts, he played well, but, they didn't ask him to do a whole lot because he didn't have to. I mean, he had 154 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 34 yards rushing, and a rushing touchdown. And again, the thing that makes them dangerous, kind of like KC, is it's the combination of talent and scheme. You go back and look at that Devontae Smith touchdown to put them up 14-0. They just ran a screen. It was he and A.J. Brown bunched to one side, and they just threw a screen to him, and A.J. Brown just grabbed Adoree Smith and just graded him out of existence, where he would just follow right behind the wake of that and just walked into and then on the opposite side of the ball, Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, they both had 1.5 sacks. Hassan Reddick, on top of that, had 3 QB hits. Daniel Jones had no time to do anything to throw to like Richie James and the Darius Slaytons of the world. And that's the thing is they'll get better on talent next year. The Giants, like you said, it was a combination of players buying into the system and really playing to the best they can and actually having a good coaching job. But again, like we talk about, a lot of times it comes down to Jimmys and Joes, not X's and O's. And Eagles have X's and O's on top of the Jimmys and Joes, and that's why they just obliterated them.
Yeah. And the other game, San Francisco, Dallas.
Yep.
I got to say,
what do you do with the Cowboys?
Well, Dak did, or as Dan Issel calls him, Zach. I was listening to Dan Issel today, and he kept calling him Zach. Anyway,
wowzer.
Dak, I just don't know what to make. I mean, he's been in the league, 8 years now.
Yeah.
He just can't seem to grow past that point. I mean, both those interceptions, I'm sorry, they were on him. The first one, Ward was right where the ball was. And the second one, well, anyway. And the only other thing I'll say about the game was I thought Purdy played within himself. He made a couple of bad decisions and got away with them pretty much. But Dallas, I don't know what you do because Dak's going to be the highest paid quarterback, right? Zeke will be the highest paid running back. I mean, they've got just no cap space.
Well,
to an extent,
to an extent, I believe Dak has another year after this upcoming year, so they can restructure a little bit, not a lot. To be fair to your point, not a lot. And Elliott, if he does come back, he's taking a huge haircut, and supposedly it came out that he's willing to do that.
And then poor Tony Pollard with the broken leg. You got to feel for that guy.
Yeah. Well, I was going to get to that. Like, to me in this game, see, I'm being an apologist for Dak, and I will agree with you on this. The first interception was just a bad read. Lenore, was in front of Michael Gallup. Yeah. I don't know what he was throwing to. Again, I'm sure it was timing based, but he should have saw before he let that go. Like, Gallup was nowhere close to breaking his route coming back. That was a bad throw. But I want to just give it credit to both these defenses. Mainly both defenses came to play. True.
Yeah.
Some of the, if you again, this is one of those games where don't look at the numbers. Parsons didn't have. I think he had one QB hit. He didn't have a sack. I don't know if he had a TFL. He was all over the place. He was breaking things up. He was causing commotion. He was getting pressures. So they were sped up. And the same thing with the 49ers defense. I think Prescott, particularly when Pollard went down, which really, really kills Dallas because he is their only explosive player on offense.
Zeke can't carry him. He can't do it.
Yeah, because again, Elliott at this point, he's still a solid back, but he's a kind of power grinded out back. He does not give you big explosive plays. And I know it sounds like I'm forgetting CeeDee Lamb. Look, CeeDee Lamb is a very good wide receiver. He is, he's maybe in the top 10. He does not win by explosion because there was a breakup, I think like 30 or 40 yards downfield by Fred Warner, who is an all-pro at linebacker. But it was a linebacker running stride for stride with CeeDee Lamb.
Stride. That was amazing.
So, let's not act like he's Devontae Smith in terms of speed. I'm not saying he's maybe comparable to Devontae Smith in a lot of attributes, but in terms of having juice, they have no juice outside of Pollard. So that was a huge injury for them. And that's the thing is he didn't have that to lean on. He like we said, you look at their problems, and some of it is now Dak getting paid so much because he doesn't have a lot of assets to help bail him out. And you could
isn't Pollard a free agent after this year too?
Yeah, but they'll work something out. I don't know recovers. How, but I just want to give credit. It kind of like what Lug said. Purdy had moments where he looked rough, but the one thing I still want to give him, and again, obviously, I think not that there's a huge discrepancy, but still, I think the talent on 49ers was just enough better than the Cowboys that he had maybe the luxury to be more of a game manager than Dak. I think there was more put on the shoulders of Dak. So I don't think he's better than Dak. I don't, but I just think he either through him or Shanahan, he realized this game was just don't screw up. And that's, credit to him. That's what he did. He didn't have a big turnover. And, really the play of the game was the Kittle 30-yard catch.
Yep.
The
bobbler.
That's one catch in a career, that kind of catch.
Which, again, credit to Purdy, because Kittle even said after the game, it was not that was a scramble drill. Like he saw that the quarterback was in panic, so he went out into a route, and Purdy found him, and that ignited that touchdown, their only touchdown drive of the game, that really kind of put it away with Christian McCaffrey running into the end zone like early in the fourth quarter. So, and I guess the only other really thing I want to kind of stress in this game is all the people that always kill kickers in these instances.
Yep.
And it's funny, late in the game when they needed to, they felt they weren't going to score a touchdown. They gave Maher opportunity in 25-yard field goal, which is a chip shot. And then he scored another one later, I believe a 41-yard. But early on, that game from the wild card round affected the way that Dallas called decisions. The game.
Yep, correct.
And that's why and also Pollard got injured, where probably in a situation if they had trust in Maher, they kick a field goal. So maybe Pollard doesn't get injured like 2 plays after that. Now, who knows? I'm not trying to, but I'm just saying the difference in having a Robbie Gould, who I know he has his discrepancies kicking from like 50 out, but once he gets 50 he's pretty automatic.
Solid.
He's automatic. So it just allows you as a play caller and as a team in terms of your confidence, it shapes how you're willing to go about a game. And I think that was a weird intangible that led to the W for San Fran.
But aren't you boys both missing the point? Kevin McCarthy. Mike McCarthy. Sorry, who's Kevin McCarthy? He's the House Speaker. Never mind.
I was going to say, wow.
Not him. He got there, but he was on a different team. Mike McCarthy, clock management, overall coaching, there is your problem. Maybe for an off-season discussion?
I think he'll still be there. I think Jones.
Jerry needs somebody to control.
Yeah. And, now I've hammered on McCarthy before and called him
his physique and his biscuits and stuff.
But this one wasn't on McCarthy. I mean, Dan Quinn had an excellent defensive plan. They had an adequate offensive plan. They just couldn't execute. So I won't place it all on McCarthy. That final play was bizarre to me. I think it was designed.
That's what I mean.
To throw the pass that was thrown, but Zeke was supposed to get out and accept the lateral. I think that's the only positive I could see out of that. But he didn't. He got just laid out, man. It was over. I mean, it was over. So, and let me just say this about Kittle. Is that guy loose or what?
No kidding.
They're in the huddle.
Yeah.
And it was at a strategic point in the game, and he's looking at the sky cam and making faces and stuff. I mean, he's as loose as they come.
In the post game too. He was, yeah.
I don't think anybody enjoys playing football more than that guy.
Agreed. I agree with that.
I guess the last thing I'll just say on Kittle is Travis Kelce is more consistent, and I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to be considered the best tight end in the league, but I will say when he hits his ceiling, George Kittle is the best tight end in the league. Just his explosion, his ability to block,
athleticism.
That's the thing is like Kelce is athletic, but when you watch Kittle, like it feels like he's got a different gear. So the 49ers are going to be tough. I'm not gonna blame McCarthy. The only thing he does have to worry about though is it feels like Lug said, Quinn had a great game plan all year, and it was one of those things you look at last year. Kenny followed up. They were in some ways felt better this year when they had some guys go down in terms of their secondary. They were able to make it work. So he's probably getting a job. Possibly Kellen Moore gets a job. I don't know so much about that, but like they have some big pieces to replace, not only in terms of their roster, but also their coaching staff probably. So it will be a big season of transition for the Cowboys.
Godspeed, Jerry Jones. Okay, they take care of Kevin McCarthy and Zach Prescott. All right, you want to move forward and talk about the upcoming games? You ready for that? All right, Niners at Eagles is the 3 p.m. game on Fox with our good friends Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson. By the way, forecasted to be about 50 degrees in Philly. So what do you think? How do you like the Niners at Eagles? Lugs.
To me, this is the Super Bowl. I think whoever comes out of this one wins the Super Bowl.
Wait. Okay.
Whoa.
I mean, when you look at San Fran, in every department, they got a Pro Bowler. I mean, everywhere. Philadelphia has just an amazing offensive and defensive line. I mean, this game, guys are going to walk away from this or be carried away from this. Either way, they're going to be bruised up because these guys are going to pound each other. I think the difference for me will be Kittle, McCaffrey, and Debo. I think they're just a notch above what Hurts has. Now, Hurts may have to bring it big time himself. So, but I'm, if you're asking me for a prediction, I'm saying San Fran by 3.
All right, and I have a follow-up question. Can you win, and will you continue to win with Brock Purdy, or has the magic run out?
Well, see, I think that Shanahan will design the plays that need to be designed to
make it work for him.
Yeah, I just the kid is pretty cool, and he started a bunch of games in college. He's more mature than we give him credit for.
Agreed.
But he is
4
a
years.
rookie.
Yep.
And this is his 8th game as a pro. So, but yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
All right, so you got San Francisco. T-Dog, let's hear your take on Niners at Eagles.
I think this is the tougher game to call in terms of the situation, because both of them, I will probably agree with Lugs. These are probably from top to bottom the most talented teams. I'm not gonna go that far in terms of the Super Bowl, not that we're getting there yet. But they each present like interesting kind of mismatches, because Eagles at points this year, they struggled against the run, and that is not something to have a problem with when going against the 49ers. Because the Cowboys, they also had problems this year, but they did a good job, even though I believe they rushed for over 100 yards, 49ers. If you look at the yards per carry, I think it was like at 30.5. So for the most part, Dallas did a good job of, stopping the efficiency. But I think the other thing is too, I think the Eagles have a lot of talent on defense, and again, it's not that I dislike their defensive coordinator Gannon. I don't think he's of the caliber, and obviously he's much younger. I don't know if he's ever going to be Dan Quinn level, what Dan Quinn has become. So I think there's parts of their defensive scheme, not so much talent, that can be exploited by the 49ers. So I think that is a area of concern for Eagles fans. Is I think they will look at, it feels like, I want to say for points this year, they struggled with the slot. And so that's the thing to worry about. I don't know if they have a guy who can really stop Kittle. I think that's another big problem in this game. But you know what? I just think I'm gonna go with Eagles. I love Purdy. Again, like I said, he's not a story. I think he's legitimate. Now, is he the long-term answer? I still don't know about that. I just feel that going the other way, 49ers, like I said, they were able to play this Cowboys team that didn't have any explosive players for the most part. But if you go back and watch, there were some key catches, usually on this. He mainly plays in the slot for most of his games for the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb. When he went outside, he had some big catches. You have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. I think the weakness in the 49ers is outside the hash marks with the corners one-on-one. I think they can be beat. I think that's, if the Eagles are going to win, I think they're going to exploit it with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith going vertical against the 49ers. And again, the Eagles have a talented offensive line. They can hold up to an extent. And again, at this point, I believe in Purdy, but I have more faith in Jalen Hurts. I don't think he's 100%. I think the 49ers are going to go at him hard early on to try to make him get discombobulated. But I'm going to go with the Eagles. It pains me because before the beginning of the year, I predicted the 49ers Chiefs for the Super Bowl, and I'm changing it now. Wow. But I just think that the Eagles are slightly better than the 49ers at the most important position. So
the Vegas gods are listening to you and your changes at the last minute. Okay, here's what I think. Shanahan's going to dial it up and dial it in, but I think the Brock Purdy machine runs out and the Philly special will rise up and Jalen Hurts will be the X factor because I think that guy's a freak of nature. When you see how he can drive with his legs and how he can do all that bench pressing and all the stuff they show videos of. And I think Philly's just got too much. Plus, they're the home team. It's going to be a beautiful night in Philly, and those people are crazy. A beautiful afternoon, and I think it's going to be fantastic for them. And I think Philly goes to the Super Bowl. All right, game 2. We've got the Bengals at Chiefs, the nightcap on CBS at 6:30 Eastern with our good friends Jim Nance, Tony Romo on the call. Here's a factor, fellas. Temps in the mid-20s at game time at Arrowhead. So, Lugs, Bengals, Chiefs.
Well, I'm going to have to go with the Bengals. Now, I've said that I didn't think that the injury to Mahomes was that bad, but in this case, the Bengal defensive line, they're going to go at it like sharks smelling blood in the water. They're going to force him to do some of that fantastic stuff that we've seen him do before. Obviously, offensively, Kansas City probably has more juice, but Cincinnati, even though I was never a big fan of Burrow, as we know, I think the young man, he is the Tom Brady of this era.
Wow.
He just sits back there and figures it out. And so I'm going to go with the Bengals on this one.
He's a fine young man, that Joe Burrow. T-Dog, what do you think about the Bengals and the Chiefs at Arrowhead?
I think the only thing really, and it's crazy to say because, again, I picked them to be in the Super Bowl on the other way. I'm going against who I picked in the Super Bowl coming out of the AFC, too.
All right. Double down, baby.
I had KC going to the Super Bowl, but it's just the way the Bengals played in Buffalo, because you could tell, again, the chip on the shoulder, and it wasn't really particularly for the Bills or the Chiefs, but because of the NFL essentially showing favoritism to them, both those teams are targeted by the Bengals. So this team is locked in. Not that they needed any extra motivation because they were in the Super Bowl last year. They played KC in Kansas City last year, the AFC Championship game, and they won the game. And that that puts them 2 in a row at the time over KC. Then they played in the regular season this year. They beat them again then too.
Yep.
They are 3-0 in the last 3 games they played against KC. Joe Burrow, again, kind of alluding to what Luggs said earlier, he is just locked in. Again, you look at his yardage in terms of his passing, these first 2 games, they're not awe-inspiring. He didn't hit 300 yards. He didn't throw 4 touchdowns in these games. But if you watch play to play, he is not making mistakes. When there are openings, he is putting in kill shots. Like, he is operating at a different level than anyone else. Look, as great as Mahomes' first drive was before that ankle injury, and it was, he had like a 15-yard throw sidearm, and he had a jump pass that went 20 yards. And even that touchdown to Valdes-Scantling, he did a one-legged jump pass in the red zone, and he landed on like his one healthy foot, his left foot. As spectacular as Mahomes is, and again, he's cerebral too, but it just feels like Joe Burrow is operating at almost at that Peyton Manning level of just dissecting what you're doing beforehand. And to be fair to what Lex said earlier, the Tom Brady thing, he'll dirt a ball because just instantaneously he could tell if a play is not going to go anywhere. So he's like, I'm not taking a sack or anything or taking a hit. Like he'll just dirt it. Like he's just that locked into notice anything pre-snap, notice anything post-snap very quickly. And I just think with how that defense is, and again, you look at Kelsey and he's been great. Bengals for the most part have like a lot of personnel that they know how to like. You're not gonna stop Kelsey, but they do a good job of usually controlling Kelsey. And then who's gonna beat him? Like Kadarius Toney has shown moments. They're gonna have to have someone step up in spite for them to win. I think going the other way, the only thing I'm really worried about is their offensive line. While it played well in that game, if you really look at Buffalo, they don't have like a guy on their defensive line that really scares you. I'm not saying they don't have talent, but there's not like a top tier Brahma Bull kind of guy that like puts the fear of God in you. That is not KC. Chris Jones, he has been an absolute human wrecking machine. If KC wins, I think Chris Jones is going to have like 2.5 sacks, like 4 QB hits. He's going to have to take this game over for Patrick Mahomes. But that being said, a lot of rambling. It's the Bengals. The Bengals are winning. I just think they're locked in. Their quarterback is operating. He's actually healthy. I think that is a big difference. So I say the Bengals.
Yeah, and if weather is a factor, they just came from Buffalo. I mean, what could be harder, you know?
I'm with you. I was going to say about the Buffalo game. Okay, let's reflect on that for a second. It was their stadium, Buffalo, their snow. I know they didn't have Von Miller, but I think the Bengals are very dangerous. Joe Cool is just that. Cool Joe Burrow, he feels it. I think they'll double or triple Kelsey, take him out of the game. And I'm with you, fellas. The Bengals go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, I just want to say, just going back to that game a little bit, just how special Burrow is playing. That first touchdown to Jamar Chase, like that play is broken down. He uses mobility to kind of like escape the pocket, move to the left. Yep. And again, this is respect to Chase. How Chase, as great as Chase is, how he was wide open like that, I have no idea. But he maybe a guy fell because he doesn't have the right cleats. He puts the proper amount of touch on it and then puts it in place. And then credit to Zach Taylor, because I want to give credit to Zach Taylor because I killed him, I don't know, last year or the year before. I didn't know how good he was. I think this year, when they moved the like I want to say week 5, when they went to more of that shotgun offense that I guess Burrow is more comfortable in from LSU, they've been on fire. I believe they only lost in Halloween to Cleveland. Like they haven't lost. I mean, they haven't lost. So, and you look at that second touchdown that went to Hurst, who also had a big game. Like a free agent they picked up. If you go back to that play design by the offense, because Chase is so special, Chase runs like a short route. And again, kind of like the Kelsey touchdown for KC, the defense totally swarms Chase, and Hurst leaks out real slowly, and just then Joe Burrow just throws it deep right to the sideline. So if Hurst doesn't catch it, it goes out of bounds. No one's intercepting it. That's just how locked in he is on every point of a play.
Yeah, I would agree that Zach Taylor is sort of overlooked as a coach.
Agree.
And I think in the game, I think T. Higgins will get his moment. I think it's time for him to get his moment. So, and I think it'll be a good game. But those are 2 of the best games of the year, honestly.
I was going to say, of all the guys left and all the teams left, this is going to be a great Super Bowl, no matter how it shakes out. And I do agree with you guys. I think Burrow is the best quarterback right now of the 4 in way he's playing and with this, ice water in his veins and just laying it out and calling his progressions right and looking around. He's on fire. I think they're a dangerous team. I think they're pretty darn good, and it'll be a fun Super Bowl when it shakes out. Okay, Lugs, do you got any sports of yesteryear?
Oh, yeah.
All right,
yes,
let's roll that out right now. We'll get to that, and then we'll get back to some more chit-chat. He's our guy in the field. He's out in his Maverick. They got a new Maverick. It's a truck now. Not a car, but we'll go back to the old car. 1970 Maverick. Come on in here, Lugs. Do it.
All right. 1900 Newcastle Badminton Club, world's oldest, forms in England. For those of you saying, what's badminton? It's geezer tennis or pickleball with shuttlecocks, sort of.
Yeah, right.
1950, Jackie Robinson signs the highest contract $35,000 in Dodger history. Those days are long gone. 1952, first NFL team in Texas. The Dallas Texans, formerly the New York Yanks, loses 11 of 12 games. 1964, CBS purchases the NFL TV rights for 64 and 65 for $28.2 million. You couldn't even buy a commercial now for $28.2 million. 1982 Super Bowl, Pontiac, Silverdome, Detroit. San Francisco 49ers beat the Cincinnati Bengals 26-21. The MVP is Joe Montana, quarterback for San Francisco, of course. And finally, 2010 NFC Championship, Louisiana Superdome. The Saints beat the Minnesota Vikings 31-28 in overtime. And that's your sports of yesteryear for this edition. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Lugs out there in his Maverick. So, wow. Did you guys know that, like this time on the calendar, like 10 years ago, this is the weekend that the Super Bowl would be played? But with all the extra games,
longer and
all
longer.
the extra rounds, we're now into what, frickin' May, aren't we? Seems like May 12th then, CBS.
They'll be drafting guys that could like play instantaneously out of college into like the Super Bowl.
What are you doing Sunday? Can you play? Anything else, fellas? It's been a good one. Lots to talk about, lots of good games. It's exciting right now.
Well, I was just going to say, in our other stuff department, I gotta have this one. This week at the annual wife carrying contest in Sonka, Järvi, Finland.
Oh, Finland! I thought it'd be Sweden.
I'm sure I'm butchering that. Taisto Mittinen carried his wife Katya through the 830-foot obstacle course in 1 minute and 7 seconds. Now, for this athletic feat, Taisto won his wife's weight in beer. Since Katya weighed in at 129 pounds, which means that Taisto will be hoisting 128 pints of his favorite beverage. You go, Taisto.
So wait a minute. Taista and Katya?
Taisto and Katya. Yeah. Mittinen in Sonka-Järvi, Finland.
God bless you. T-Dog, anything else for the...
Yeah, I guess kind of go back to the NFL. Just two quick ones. Quarterback news. I know we do a lot of quarterback news. Well, you know, it's but Bill O'Brien, hired by the Patriots to be their OC. Finally, they have an OC, which is a step in the right direction. And him having previous experience working in New England, and also like his tenure at Alabama should mean, Mac Jones, again, I think if you kind of go back this year, there was some junk, but I think it was just all the stuff around him. Again, I don't know if he's ever going to be like a top 10 quarterback. I think he's a very good quarterback. I think he'll go back to possibly being better than he was his rookie year. So I think it's good by the Patriots. Because again, their defense played well. It was mainly it's crazy to think they had one of the worst special teams. Actually, it's easily the worst special teams year for Bill Belichick. I don't know what they do to address that, but like I think they're a team to watch for next year. I don't think they're going to contend for Buffalo, but they can sneak into the playoffs is what I'm getting at. And then Aaron Rodgers, I know we'll talk about it in weeks and podcasts to come.
More non-news, yes.
Him floating out there, these things by Schefter being out that, the Jets would really like him, or the Packers aren't willing to send him to NFC. Just shocking. We're gonna have to deal with this all offseason. So I'm looking forward to that. Is what I'm trying to say.
Was he sitting in the lotus position when he made those comments? By the way. All right, that'll bring to a close. We're going to tear this one up, I think. Sports and other stuff brought to you in part by Swendella Bread. At 3 in the morning when you're in bed, Swendella bakers are baking bread. And that's the reason it tastes so good, like oven-fresh Swendella should. If it's Swendella, it's a swella, fella, kind of like our guy, Fish.
Fish,
yeah.
Yes. Well, this week, to mark the 19th anniversary of Opportunity landing on Mars, that's the robotic rover that surprised everyone by continuing to operate for 14 years, sending back all kinds of data. Well, to honor this spunky space explorer, Fish and Crazy Sadie's Candy Emporium will host a Mars candy bar extravaganza. There will be Mars bars, Mars shakes, Mars cookies, all things Mars. Entry is $10 with the money to benefit Fish's favorite charity, the Beer Gut Reducers Club. That's the Beer Gut Reducers Club. That's this Saturday from 1 to 3. Come on down, join us.
Available in certain parts of the country, but maybe not here. That'll be it for this edition of Sports and Other Stuff. Join us next week. It'll be on to the Super Bowl. Thanks for listening. So long for now.